Microsoft have literally in the last sort of few weeks done a massive, I say massive, a big update within Microsoft Teams. So I'm going to try and touch on, there's going to be two different views that a lot of you may see. Hopefully a lot of you will be on the newer version, but even Cobweb internally, for instance, I was one of the last people to have the newer version. So I'll touch on where the cool bars are in the older version and the newer version. So you'll have one of the two. But like I said, don't worry if you're not seeing things exactly as they are. There's some of the visuals are just minimal tweaks, but we'll go through some of them and there's still the same features, if not more, on the newer version. But we'll touch on all of that as we go. So for those of you on the older version, this is what you'll be seeing. So if you've got the newer version, you'll have these features still available to you, but just located elsewhere, and I'll touch on that in a moment. But so for anyone that's thinking, especially when I share my screen in a moment, I don't know which one is my toolbar, which one is Abby's toolbar, just gives you a little bit of an introduction. So your one will be the bigger one at the bottom, and my one's the smaller one at the top. You shouldn't really see mine, but if you do, that's all it is. Nothing to get confused about too much. So the toolbar themselves, so like I said, you have all of this if you've got the newer version. I'll show you where it is in a moment, but this is what you've got available to you. So this is what we sort of refer to as the call bar. So you've got the call length, you've got the camera option to have it on or off, again to have your microphone on or off. You can screen and desktop share, which I'll go through with you in a moment. You've got the ellipse or the three dots. And at the time that I put this presentation together and did a screenshot, those were the options available to me. So we'll go through some of those in a bit more detail. Like I said, it's how to hold a call, transfer a call. You'll see the start video with a blur. So we'll go through some of the background features that Teams has got available to us all. Keypads, so if you had to press an option, like an option 1 for this or an option 2, you can do all of that as well. And then you can also record any of the Teams calls, meetings that you have, video calls, and such like. So we'll go through some of that in a bit more detail. Show device settings. If you've at any point got any problems with your laptop, your headset, camera, all of those sorts of things, you can manually change them once you're in the call. A new feature that Microsoft have released within the last, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks, varying on versions, is the raise or lower your hand. So again, if you press that, rather than have to interrupt the presentation or the speaker, it just alerts the presenter that you have a question or you've got something to say or some input that you'd like to sort of raise with the group. So that's quite a nice, discreet way of sort of wanting to input and not so much interrupt, but that sort of thing. Chat and IM, that's what I was saying just now. For anyone that's got questions as we go, feel free to use that option throughout the whole webinar. Like I said, we've got people from Cobweb on the call that will hopefully help me out. So that would be great if you can do that. Call participants. I'll click through some of these in a bit so you can see what you get when you do click on them. But with call participants, you can see who's joined your call, who hasn't. You can manually add people to a meeting or a call if you've forgotten to invite them or they haven't turned up. So again, nice little feature and quite self-explanatory. You've got the red box with the white telephone, which is how to hang up. So for those of you that have got the newer version, like I said, it's similar. So you'll see at the top of the screen, you've got call participants, the chat and IM icon, the ellipse and the three dots and all the same sort of icons. When you click on the three dots, you get some different features being in the newer version. So device settings is still there. You can show meeting notes rather than have to click through to the original calendar invite to find the meeting, the space where you can write notes. There's a quick access sort of icon there that you can then go through. Meeting details, that will give you all of the dial-in features, so you don't have to go searching for them. If you click on meeting details, it will give you a manual dial-in number, all the sort of dial-in from around the world numbers, local numbers, all those sorts of things. And then gallery. So I think a lot of you, when we all sort of found ourselves in Teams back on the 23rd of March, for a lot of us, sort of out of the blue, there was only the option to have sort of, I think at the time it was maybe sort of 3 or 4 videos. So if you're having a meeting with 10 people, everyone had their videos on. It was quite limited with how many people you could see at a certain time. So now Microsoft are catching up. I hate to say it with the likes of Zoom, but they are introducing more of a sort of tiled option, so you can have more people at their videos sort of viewable at any one time. They've introduced something called Together Mode, and I have got a funny screenshot, which I'll show you in a moment. But this, I think it's a little bit cheesy. It's something I think Microsoft is just trying to bring in some more familiarization with some of the things that we used to sort of know and love. Sort of not having so much of that interaction with our colleagues face to face and in person. Together Mode is just something nice they've brought in. Apply background effect, same sort of thing that we'll go through in a moment. And then we've got start recording, like we all know, and this webinar today is being recorded for anyone that wants to reference to it after today. And then this is the together mode. So you can see you've got Chloe, who's top left from marketing, you've got some account managers, you've got myself, Matt at the front in our internal support team. So again, it's just Microsoft's way of bringing in a little bit of joy maybe to the world, but it made us laugh. But that to one side, that's just a bit of an introduction to some of the icons you're going to be seeing on your screen at this moment. They may vary depending on how you've called in, whether or not you're on a laptop, if you're on a desktop application, if you've joined via the web or on a mobile device. Things can vary. Ultimately, you'll get the best experience if you're dialing in on desktop application, probably via a laptop. But it just really depends on situations. Like I've got Teams on my mobile phone. If I'm ever even out on lunch or out and about, or I've got if I'm out of the office with a customer or whatever I'm doing, I have Teams on my phone. And so far, the experience has been really, really, really good on my phone. So I have no problem. I don't think the experience is any less superior. Again, there are things that you can't do, but when you're out and about, you probably don't want to be doing them anyway too much unless you've got your laptop with you. But to introduce the interface to you, bottom left, you've got Microsoft's online help, which is a little circle with a question mark in. So again, if you click on that, it brings up the web page with Microsoft and it's how-to guides about Teams. They're quite short and sweet. There's not too much to them, but again, they'll help you if you're ever in a situation you've forgotten something or you just want a bit of a reminder. The application bar, which is above that, which is what we'll focus on today in quite a bit of detail, and we'll go through each of those icons bit by bit, and I'll introduce you to what you can do. Then you've got the new chat icon, which is like a quick access icon, which is like a little notepad and pen. Again, we'll go through instant messaging, what you can do once you're in the instant messaging environment and the such like. And then we've got the command bar where you can search or type a command, and we'll go through what you can do. For those of you that are familiar with mentioning somebody using the @ sign, you can use that as a quick sort of as a shortcut in that command bar. You can do /, which is sort of a task related sort of quick thing to do, and we'll go through that in a bit more detail. And then as you go around clockwise, you've got profile and settings. So you can see there I've got Cobweb Solutions, but next to that I've got my little icon. The green tick means that I'm available. If I was to click on that, it gives me the option to again sort out my headset, sort out my notifications, my camera. I can do test calls. If I'm sort of not quite sure if my headset's working, I can call Teams and it will tell me if things are working or not. There's lots of quite nice little things to do there. And then ultimately, the big window in front of us we refer to as the application window. So I hope nothing too scary. It's quite, I say, self-explanatory, but it's nice to have a little bit of an introduction to it before we go straight into the live environment. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to share now my Teams. So bear with me a moment and I'll put you over into more of a live environment and we'll go into a demo. So I need this one. So if I bring this over now onto my laptop, because I was looking at all of your faces, now I've got this. So what I'm going to do to begin with is introduce you to Calendar, because you all would have been invited today, probably via Outlook. But for those of you that are using Teams and quite confident, you'll see that everything that you do in Outlook will mirror into Teams. And I will go through in a little bit how that sort of works. But to introduce you to the calendar, so you can see over here on the left-hand side, this is the calendar icon. Click on it, you can see today's webinar. So it's giving me a quick way to join it without opening up the entire invite. But it's similar to what we're quite used to. It's nothing, like I said, too scary. I've got a work week in front of me, as you can see. It's Monday to Friday, which is set as default. I can go to a day view and I can go to a week view, which would include Saturday and Sunday. I can go over here, I can jump to certain days. So let's jump to September. I want to see what I'm doing on the 15th of September. That week brings it up quite nicely. And if I want to revert back to the day I'm on, again, it's quite easy to do. So I click up here on today and it will take me back to where I am. So if I wanted to create a new meeting, I'm quite confident the person I'm going to be inviting is on Teams, don't need to do anything via Outlook. I can also invite people that are on Outlook, but it's just, if I was to click on the space, so say I want a meeting today at 1 o'clock, I'd click on the space. If it's going to work for me, probably won't do now. I don't think it's liking me. But anyway, I could click on the space, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go on this occasion to plus new meeting. and it's bringing me up this page, and it would work if I was to click on the space within the calendar that I wanted. It would bring up me the same view. But what I'm going to do for the purpose of today, again, like I would do in Outlook that we're all quite familiar with, I'm going to do a test invitation. So what I can do here, I can invite people that I know for definite are on Teams, they're part of my organisation. If I didn't, for instance, this is going to be my personal Gmail account. I could then invite somebody that I know isn't on Teams, but I will get an invitation and a way to join that meeting. So I'd get, like I do in Outlook, I'd get a join Teams meeting. I can click on that link and it will open it up in my web browser. So again, it doesn't have to be people that you know are on Teams for definite, but it just helps if they are. I'm going to propose the time of, let's go for today, but like I said, 1 o'clock. It's going to be automatically like it would do in Outlook. It's going to give me half an hour as default. I could change that if I wanted to 1/4 the hour. I could do it 6 minutes past 1 if I wanted to. That's not set in stone. I could do an all-day meeting like we're familiar with within Outlook. But what it's doing is Teams has got embedded into it an application called Find Time. So as soon as I've invited Chloe, it's looked at her diary, my diary, and suggested times as well, which can be really helpful. Again, like we're familiar with, I've got the option to repeat it if need be. So I could do it daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. Custom would give me the option I could do whatever I wanted. I could do it 3 times a week or every 2 weeks or whatever I wanted to do. I've got the option to customize the regularity of the meeting. I can add a channel. So when we go into creating a team in a moment, we'll go through what a team is and what a channel is. So if there was a meeting I was organising that was specific to a certain channel, again, I could reference that channel and the meeting invite would be then sat into that channel. A location. So it's not so relevant for some of us working from home at the moment, but when we are in the office, what we had internally at Cobweb were our meeting rooms. And what it will also do is let me know if that meeting room is free or being used at the time I'm proposing for the meeting. That's quite a nice little feature that's built in. Again, these sorts of things are already existing in Outlook, but it's just Microsoft's way of making the experience in Teams quite seamless. And then like I would do normally, I'd add an agenda, some context to the meeting. So again, I can format this like I would do in previous experiences. I can add bullet points, numbering things. I can add colour, all sorts. I'm not going to send it because I'm not going to block up Chloe's her diary. So it gives me the option to discard or continue. I'm going to discard it for the purpose of this. But what I am going to do, if I stop sharing this for a moment, and I'm going to share again. So if I go over to here, I'm going to share what I could do in Outlook. So this is one I created earlier. It's my Blue Peter moment. But this is my Outlook to Teams invite. So again, something that probably looks a little bit more familiar to a lot of us, people that are used to working with Outlook day in, day out. So what I'm doing here, this is my Outlook to Teams invite. Again, I could add the location. I could do all sorts of things. It gives me the options to add people. I've done the account I'm demoing from as default. But what Outlook has done, because it's got an add-on that's integrated with Teams, it gives me this option up here to do a Teams meeting. So this is probably how a lot of you would have got the invitation for today through your Outlook. But again, it gives me the option if I was to click on that, whether or not I've got Teams or not. If I didn't, it would bring it up by the web browser. If I have it and I have the desktop application, it will load it up through that. It'll give me the option to load up via that. And if I'm having problems, again, it gives you all the manual dial-in numbers, local numbers, all sorts of things. And if I hit send, which I'm going to do, what it will do is when I then share my screen again within Teams, let's go over here. And I'm going to share this one. After a minute or two, it's letting me click on the space now. Here we go. So my Outlook to Teams invite. So that's just to demonstrate the sort of how seamless it is. So anything I do in Outlook will mirror into Teams and vice versa. So you don't need to worry about the fact that you've created something somewhere, you're trying to access it from a different location or whatever. Like I said, because it's all part of the Office 365 suite, it all integrates seamlessly. And that took maybe a second or two to come over. So it just goes to demonstrate. And then via that, I can join it like this. Like I was saying, here is where you would originally have found meeting notes. So there it gives me a quicker way of accessing that via the meeting itself and clicking on the 3 dots like I was showing you just now. So in here, you can make notes. It'll open up almost like a notepad type environment, and you can take minutes and the such like. But everything is here. It creates a chat as part of all of this. And again, we've got details, we've got files. I could even have a whiteboard session, which again is a bit of a beast in itself. So we can go through that at a later date if it appeals to anybody else. But for the time being, I'm going to just close this. If I wanted to, as I'm not going to, don't want to scare anybody with this. And for those of you that are quite familiar with Teams already and are comfortable with it, that's great. But you'll see here, if I was to click on the arrow, there's the option to do live events. Live events are a training session in themselves, ultimately. It's for things like one-to-many product launches. They're more of a broadcast, so your audience and participants have less ability to interact. They're sort of muted as default. With a live event, you can have up to 250,000 attendees. So it's a completely different ball game to just having a standard meeting. If there are any businesses, any companies that have joined the meeting today, and you do feel like there's a need within your business to explore live events more, then do get in touch with your account manager. But again, it just goes to show you what Microsoft are trying to do with Teams. They're trying to make it a hub for collaborating, no matter what your situation, what it is you're doing. So again, it just have it explore, get confident with Teams. And again, like if there's stuff that you start playing around with or finding, and you want more help or guidance or information or even more training, do get in touch with your account manager, and we can cover that off for you. So little introduction to calendar. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into chat. So what you'll see here is we've got the meeting, we've got the webinar that we're all currently attending at the moment, the Quick Start to Microsoft Teams. You can see it's being recorded, but what this is demonstrating is that the chat has been created automatically as part of the meeting. So you can see here that Chloe has said here that you can use the chat feature, is happy to subscribe, ask questions. So we've got all of this. So throughout the webinar, you can ask questions here. If you're having a meeting, you can refer to all of this as we go. And again, you can type things, you can share documents that are relevant to the meeting. Any files will then start living up here, so you can refer to them at a later date. But this is just Microsoft's way, like I was just saying, of having a hub where everything is stored, an environment that's safe, that you can collaborate together across departments, across companies, across teams, whatever it is. So again, it's just to sort of show you that the chat's been created automatically. If I wanted to create a brand new chat, I have the option over here, like we were saying, the quick access icon, the little notepad and pen to start a quick chat. So I want to talk to Chloe because Chloe is always my trusted girl when I do these, as you can see. So I'm going to say to Chloe, again, I'm just going to say hello. So for those of you that are familiar with Skype for Business in the past, you had the option just to write sort of quick messages. I don't know if any of you are familiar with, so with Skype for Business, if you were to have a conversation with somebody, it would house that conversation. I think for us personally at Cobweb, it was within Outlook in a folder called Conversation History. And if you wanted to find something that you said to somebody 6 months ago, it would be a massive search job. But what Teams does is do something called persistent chat. So if I was to scroll through everything I've ever said to Chloe, it's here, it's in one place. Unless me or her purposefully delete anything, it doesn't go anywhere. So I can search through this chat for certain topics or words, but it's all here, it's all in one place. So like you said, we've just done sort of one word to each other, nothing too fancy. But what I can do, if I click on this A with a paintbrush, I can format my message, which is something we didn't get in Skype for Business ultimately. So I think I always use this with Chloe. She must get fed up of me asking her to remember stuff. But please remember, let's go for X, Y, Z. Really, really intuitive and yep, using my brain here. But again, with formatting a message, I can press enter without it sending my message away from me automatically. I think I've fallen foul with LinkedIn, especially typing a message, wanting to go down a line, hitting enter, and my message is like going off before I finished it. And I'm like, oh no. But if you go to format, you can press enter, you can bullet point things, you can number things, you can make things bold, you can add colour, you can do all sorts of things. And then what I have to purposefully do is hit the send icon, which is the little, I think it's supposed to be a letter flying away, or a little arrow. But anyway, I'm going to hit send when it goes for me, and off it goes. So there you go, you can see I've sent her a message. If I wanted to send her a message that was a bit more important or urgent, it gives me the options to do so here. Again, they're quite self-explanatory. They give you a little explanation as to what they do. A message will be marked as important if it's important, or if it's urgent, the recipient will get notified every 2 minutes for 20 minutes. So I'm not going to set one as urgent, but I will do an important one because you can just then see some of the visuals that go alongside these things. So off it goes. She'll also get over an activity, a little notification that pops up saying that someone's given you an important message, and we'll go through how that works in a moment. But again, it just goes to show what it is that you can do. And you can see over here, Chloe's reacted to my message. She's given it a thumbs up. So in my heart of hearts, I'm hoping she's acknowledging my message. And I can also see down here by the little eye icon that she's seen it. So again, it's just some little things that they're bringing into this. And over here, so it gives me the option to attach a file. If at any point I attach anything to Chloe, like we were saying, this persistent chat, it will stay in this environment until I get rid of it or delete it, and it will live up here in files. So anything I ever send her, rather than having to search back in time or scroll through all the messages, if I was to click files, I'd be able to see there straight away what I've sent her in the past. Got the options to send smileys. So I don't know about different companies that are dialed in today, but Cobweb try and limit the use of this smileys and emojis and GIFs and such like. There's always a time and a place, but we're quite careful with how we use them internally during work time, obviously. But again, it's just Microsoft sort of bringing in some bits and pieces that we're quite familiar with. People use Teams outside of the workplace, so I'm actually going to send Chloe a teddy bear just because I can. And GIFs, of course, they're all quite, I think we're all quite used to these now. This is one of my favourites. I think everyone loves a bit of Forrest Gump. But again, it's just giving you some of that familiarisation that we all know and love, things that you can play around with. If I decided that me and Chloe were chatting quite a lot and I just wanted to schedule a meeting about something a bit more important, gives me the quick access icon down the bottom, schedule a meeting. If I click on that, it will give us the window that we saw previously, where I just have to invite her, set a time and a date and all those sorts of things. But if Chloe and I are getting really into something, I think, oh, I can't keep messaging Chloe, I'm just going to give her a quick call. Up here on the top right hand corner, I've got the option to call her. I can video call her. So within those things, I can then start sharing my screen if need be. If I want to share my screen and not call her, I can do as well. So again, I could do it by doing this. If I want to add people to the chat, I can do by clicking on this icon. And if I want to pop out the chat and do something else in Teams rather than losing where I am with Chloe in my conversation, I also can do. So again, it's just a few features that are there just to sort of introduce you to them and what they do and what they mean, rather than you have to. I mean, you can go and experiment and have a play, but like I said, this is just to introduce you to some of the options. So that's what you can do if it's just a one-to-one chat. If I was to go up here and I wanted to create a group chat, I click on the arrow down here. It's almost like for those of you that are quite familiar with WhatsApp, you can do a group chat. So again, I'm going to call it Teams group chat. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to add in Chloe, and I'm almost dead certain Emma's on the call. So again, I'm going to add those two people to the chat. I'm going to go hello. And what it's done, it's created me an environment where the three of us can talk. We can share files, we can call each other. So if I was to click call, what it would actually do is call Emma and Chloe simultaneously. And when they both answer, it would create a three-way conversation. So you can see down the bottom as well when people are typing. So again, it gives me all the same options that we were talking about on a one-to-one chat. This is just a group chat. So just going through the options. And you can see up here, it's saying me I've already got 3 people in the group. And if I wanted to add more, I could do just by hitting that button. So again, I was just introducing you to instant messaging, chat, and over here we've got activity. So this is just go through some of the other things that we can do. So again, you can see a chat that I've had previously with Ollie, who's one of the account managers. And so what we've got here are, you can see he's reacted to some of my messages. You can also see that Ollie's currently out of the office. So it's not only is it showing it to me by his icon, it's telling me down here he's got his out of office on, may not respond. But what this is doing ultimately is showing, I'd have a notification here. Oliver reacted to your message, chat with Oliver. So if I was to click here, what it would do would take me straight to the message that he's reacted to. Obviously, it's not taking me anywhere because I've got it open at the same time. But if I didn't have it open, it would be here. So again, that's something to sort of bear in mind, something that you can, so I could either filter it by things that are generally going on, or I could have my activity as well. So again, just things that we've got going on. I'm just gonna, oh, that's okay. So that's what we've got there. So what I'm going to do now is introduce you to Teams, and Teams is Teams within Teams, so to speak. So it's quite a big, I'll say it's not so much a beast, there is so much you can do, and this is ultimately where this hub of collaboration really lies. You can see here there are teams within Cobweb internally. So there's nothing here that is overly private. You can see things that we're up to, but what these teams are, even though they're private, they are searchable and they are visible. And I'll go through that with you in a moment. I can enter a code. If somebody internally has created a team, and they can then create themselves a code for everyone to join using. It tends to work more from an internal point of view. If I was an external person, I wouldn't be able to use the code to join. I'd have to manually be invited, but we'll go through that element of it in a moment. But what I am going to do is create a team. So I can create a team here, or I can create and join a team down the bottom. For the purpose of this, we're going to create one. We're going to build a team from scratch. You can do one from existing 365 groups or teams, but I'm not going to do that so much. But it says, what is a team down here? So if you ever want a reminder, again, Microsoft and Teams are trying to make it quite helpful. They're sort of giving you even when you open Teams for the very first time, what it will do is highlight to you certain things you can do, and you can go through very quick tutorials as well. So they're always sort of on hand and sort of trying to help you as you go. But for this, we're going to build a team from scratch. We're going to do a private one, because then I'll sort of show you the different options you can get. We're going to call it the Teams demo, and I can let people know what it's about. This is what I was talking about, being searchable and discoverable. So especially with this being a private team, I might not want the whole world to know this team even exists. It might be about the Christmas party or a product launch, or it might be something that needs to be kept quite secret. Whatever the reason is, I can then change the settings. So if I was to untick this, allow others to search for and discover this team, basically where it's private and where it's no longer searchable and discoverable, people will only know it exists if they're invited. So it won't be visible in the background where the other teams are that you can see. It will be completely locked down. So I am going to create it. So we've got this, we've got nice work. So it's going to take a moment to create this for me. So once that's done, I can then start adding people. So if I was to then come out of this, I'm going to add Chloe. And I'm going to add Chloe, I'm going to add Emma, and I'm going to add Michael, who's another account manager that's on the call. I'm going to add the 3 of these to this team. I'm going to make Chloe an owner, so she can help alongside me with some of the things we're going to be doing as a team. And I'm going to hit close. So I can change people's permissions at any point. I can change people from owners to members. There's lots of things I can do. We can go through some of those settings in a moment. But what it's done is created the environment for us to all work in going forwards. So over here on the left, it's created the team. So this is what this is, Teams demo. And what it's done underneath is created a channel called General. You'll get a general channel created automatically with every team you create. And this is where you can talk to each other as a group. So everyone that's invited to the original team, this is the place where you can talk and share files. You see Chloe's started a chat. So if Chloe was talking about something specific, rather than me just do a general reply to everybody, I could reply to her initial message. It's giving me all the options it does whenever I write any instant message. Like we were saying just now, the formatting, the attaching files, and I can put hello Chloe. She'll get a notification that she's had a reply to her comment. But again, if I want to start a new conversation, again, it's quite seamless. I'm going to @ Emma, which we're quite used to at the moment. So mentioning her. And again, so she'll then get a notification that she's been mentioned. So over an activity, she'll then get a notification so that she's been mentioned within a channel or a team. So that's just, you know, got Michael here. So this is brilliant. So this is how you can then start collaborating as a team, as a project group, whatever it is you're doing. So this is a channel, the general one that we've all got access to. As the team owner, and Chloe too, we've both then got the permissions to add private channels. We can add any channels, but what I'm going to do is show you how you can add a private channel. So this is almost like a secret project group within the project group itself. But I'm going to say private channel, and it's going to be private. So I change the setting down here and I'll click next. So at this moment in time, nobody knows I've created this channel. But as soon as I type in Chloe, Chloe is going to get a notification saying she's been added to a channel. I'm going to hit done. And over here, you can see there's a padlock. So that's showing to me it's private. Chloe is then invited into this private channel. But to Michael and Emma, they've got absolutely no idea this channel's even been created until they're invited to it. They won't even be able to see it. So this is what I was talking about having that sort of environment. You have environments within environments and all sorts of things, but it just gives you that level of sort of privacy, especially if you're in an HR function. I use this quite a lot as being part of an L&D team. My boss is head of HR. So again, things like CVs, recruitment, all that sort of stuff needs to have its privacy, anything to do with salaries. So there's loads of things you can start then utilising some of these channels for. But if I go back into this, so he can't see anything. He can't even see that private channel is even created. I'm hoping Chloe can. Chloe's typing in it. You can see they bold as soon as she types something. So you can see that Chloe's written in it. But if I go back into general, and this is actually where you can then start the real collaboration piece, and I am going to go into this in quite a bit of detail. So we've talked about attaching files that are in existence, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new file. So I could upload anything existing. And what Teams is doing automatically is building anything that's created onto SharePoint. So if for whatever reason Teams was to have like a massive outage and go down, I was like, oh, I can't access some of the files. Assuming I've got the right license and I've got SharePoint, which comes as standard across most of the licenses nowadays, I can open it in SharePoint. So this is showing me I can do it via Teams. If I couldn't, I could access everything that's created from a document perspective, just going into SharePoint. So if we're going to upload, I can then start uploading existing files and folders. So if I then wanted to bring up all my workload, have a team created about the Christmas party, but I've already started documents that say on my desktop about the Christmas party, I can bring all of that file structure straight into Teams. If I wanted to create a new one, and for the purpose of this, we're going to do an Excel document, and we're going to just call it Teams Excel demo. And what you'll see when this opens up is that myself, Chloe, Emma, and Michael can all access this document. So they'll see it as a brand new file that's been created. Once that sort of starts syncing across into their teams, they can open this document with me and we can start working on it together, which is what I'm hoping will happen any moment now. But they will be able to go into that team. So they'll be in the general channel. I've created the file in files. So they'd go through into files, they'd see that document be created and they'd come into it. So you can see straight away, I've got Chloe and Michael have come into this. So you can see that Chloe's editing. I can see where she is. I can see that Michael's in it. So again, it gives you that seamless not only is there one version. So again, you don't have to worry about version control and sending copies of documents. You can start playing around with things together. So you've got no duplication of work. If, for instance, I went on holiday and Michael, Chloe, and Emma started doing things, and I came back, I was like, oh my God, what have you done? It will actually have different versions saved on different dates, all sorts of things. So if I had to revert back to an original version, I could do. But what this is doing is just giving, like I said, it's the environment, it's the ability to work on things together. And you can do this with Excel, with Word, with PowerPoint. I think OneNote's being introduced, Microsoft Forms, for those of you that know how to use forms. So there's lots of things. You can't do it with every application, but you can do it with the really key ones. So again, this is what is bringing us up within this window, what you'd probably be quite familiar with if you were working on office.com or using the applications online and on the web browsers. It's slightly limited compared to the desktop applications, but not massively. I can still do quite a lot. I can still do things with formulas. I can still play around with the data. If I try to do something and I thought I can't do it, I can't find it in this format, if I was to open up a desktop application, I could do. It would let me continue working on it alongside Chloe and Emma and Michael. So even though I was in the desktop application and they are working from it online, we still have the same document open. We'd still be able to do it. So depending on how we've logged into the document, we'll still be having the same version open. It will save automatically, no matter how you've opened it. And it'll probably give them a notification that I'm, so over here, if I was to hover over Emma, you can see that she's editing it. You can see her location. If I was to click on that, again, it would jump to where she is. And it will work across sheets. So I can have the same workbook open. We could be on different sheets, editing different things. And it would jump to her location. And it'll probably give her the heads up that I'm doing it in the desktop application. So again, it's just like I said, it's the art of the possible. And this might not, some of you, this might be groundbreaking and brilliant. Some of you might be doing this every day already. But it's not so much a new feature for those of you that are familiar with SharePoint. You can already do this. But with Teams, it's creating it in that Teams environment. So let's go back over to Teams. And you can see over here, we've got the document. You can see who it was last modified by. And it's just always there. It's always somewhere that we can access it. And again, I could have Word documents in here. I could add it pictures. and it's just that central hub where we've all got access to everything. So again, as like I said, you could do it with all sorts of things. I'm not going to go through and create everything that you can do. Folders, you can create all sorts of things. You have new folders. But again, it's just giving you a bit of an insight as to what you can do. Wiki is a tab. So these are tabs along the top. So you've got teams over here, channels, and tabs. And with a wiki, what that does is it will bring up, for those of you that are familiar with OneNote, again, it will give you, is that kind of feel to it. And again, it's something that everyone can access. So this could be all sorts of things. The team wiki is, like Microsoft and Teams like to refer to it as somewhere that you can put everything, you can make notes, make content, you can chat to each other still about it, but you can download it as a document as well, which is actually quite a nice little feature. You can add sections, as many sections as you want, all sorts of things. Like I said, for those of you that play around with OneNote, it's got quite a similar feel to that. I think if I was to go over here, I've got all my sections. I can actually add a new page. So really similar to the structure of OneNote. I can add tabs. And so for those of you that I think we've had customers in the past, for instance, that use Trello. And Trello is an application where you can do a lot of project planning. And we had them ask that while they're moving all of their employees, and I think it was a global company, they're moving from Trello, and they want everyone to start using Planner. But was there a way that they could have more of a journey? So rather than just stop everyone from using Trello one day and make them all use Planner on the next day, can we have more of a journey? So we're doing it bit by bit and chunking it out so they're sort of more familiar with things as they go. And we said, yeah, because actually, do you know what you can do? Trello integrates with Teams. So you can add Trello. So what I'm going to do over here, I can add it. It might make me download it on this occasion. I'm not quite sure. But let's have a look. So I can actually post chat to the channel about it. I don't think it's going to let me. I don't actually have a Trello account. But if I did, what it would have done is create a tab up here with Trello. And then you could log in using your Trello credentials, things that you're used to, and it would integrate into Teams. So you'd see things that are familiar. And then you'd sort of be able to sort of even have Trello and Planner as tabs side by side while you're getting used to then using Planner, for instance. That's just a little sort of a journey that we've taken a customer on, for instance. I don't know if many of you are familiar with Clip Training. It is a product that we sell, but we've got it as a business because we use Clip Training quite heavily. It is something we've got integrated within our teams. And I'm going to see if it's going to let me. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But if I was to, I might need to grab the password for this. Bear with me a second. But Clip Training is a great tool. It's basically an online resource library. I think it costs, I don't know if the pricing is changing, but it costs something like £2 per person per month. And what it is, it's a library full of very short videos. They're how-to guide. It's for the entire Office 365 suite. So not just Teams. You can do everything from Excel, and it levels things out from beginners to pros to super users. So you've got all of that going on as well. It's done things quite recently where, especially with the remote working, it's had guides on how to do things, how to work most efficiently when working from home. It's got all sorts of things. So you can see here, basically it brings up what you can do. And I think I might have locked this quite down for an existing customer that I was demoing. But at the moment, you can see there's training here for Teams. I mean, these were the two things they were using. Normally, there'd be about 20 of these boxes, and they'd range from Word to Excel to Sway to Power BI, all sorts of things. So Clip Training is a really great tool that we use internally for a lot of things. I can go to my training. I can look at time I've saved, all sorts of things. I don't know if it will let me do, it might let me do some administration. So from the back end, I can then start looking at, as a manager, I can start assigning learning paths. I can see how much time has been saved. So I might have set a learning path, got people to do it, and it's sort of saved us ultimately a whole load of time. So if these are things that are interested to you or your business, again, talk to your account manager. It's a tool that will just help, especially with the integration around Microsoft Teams. If you're upgrading your licenses and suddenly find yourself with a whole load of applications that you've never used as a business, not only do we do training for OneDrive, for SharePoint, for Outlook, and for Teams, but this sort of application with Clip Training will help that journey sort of longer term as well. And will give you all the sort of things you need to, and your employees longer term to reference back to. So again, just sort of an integration as to how you can integrate your applications. If I was to click on the dots, it gives me a quick sort of easy access on the applications. So we've got calls, we've got shifts, all sorts of things. But that just sort of gives you a nice introduction to a few things that you can do within Teams. But what I am going to do is I'm going to just lastly but not least, it's go into calls. So if I was to go into calls over here, oh, actually it's over there. I don't have it pinned to my application bar for some reason. But for those of you that use Skype Business for calls, if you've got existing PBX systems or those sorts of things, don't be put off if you have got an existing PBX as well, especially. I do want to make a point of saying that because there are so many things we offer. You might think, I've just signed up to a 5-year contract with my existing PBX. I can't use Teams to call, but you can ultimately. So speak to your account manager if you're in that situation. If you want to keep doing what you're doing with your PBX, or you've got no interest in sort of calling and what you can do, and you just want to use it internally, again, as part of your Teams integration and your setup and all that sort of stuff and the administration in the back end, you can have all of your company's employees preloaded. So that's down here, that's showing some of the things we've got. So again, some of these people you might recognize. So we've got Chloe from marketing. You can see she's on Do Not Disturb. Adam's in a call, Morgan's in a call, Sarah, we've got Emma, Toya's in customer relations. Some of you may or may not have come across her, but I can see that Toya's available. And what it's doing is giving me the option to have quick access icons. So I can do a video call, a voice call, and I can chat to Adam. I could add him to my speed dial, or I could remove him from the group. But what I can do, so this is the speed dial environment, as you can see. I'm going to do a new group, and again, I'm going to call this Project 1. It could be whatever you want. It could be your favourites. It could be your boss or your team or all sorts of things. You could create a group. Once you've created that group, it populates down here. If I click on the 3 dots or the ellipse and go add contact to that group, again, I can rename it or delete it. But I'm going to add Chloe. She won't get notified that she's been added. It's more for my benefit, so I can rearrange my contacts how I want. But again, it just gives you that sort of ability to personalize what it is you're seeing and how it is you work yourself. If I was to go to contacts, again, I can see everyone here. I can see their job titles, their phone numbers, and again, I've got all the quick access icons over here. So I'm going to add them to speed dial, all sorts of things. If I go into history, so again, it will give me all of the calls, my outgoing calls, my incoming calls, anything I've missed. It will show me who it was that called me. If they're not associated internally, it will give me their phone number. It will tell me when the call was made, how long the call was, everything that we're used to seeing will live in history. So it's not really rocket science, but again, it's all there if I ever need it. With voicemail, so for those of you that are quite used to, I think, I don't know if Apple and iPhone were the first people to really start introducing it, but rather than have to call my voicemail and go through option 1, option 2, if you want to listen again, or press hash to call that person back, what it will do is it'll give me all my individual voicemails. It will not only, so I can listen to them, play them, download them, rewind them, all sorts of things, but I'll probably 9 times out of 10, depending on how things are set up, get an email in my Outlook. Probably, well, I say usually with a transcript, so Teams will do that automatically, so I can read it if I haven't got the ability to listen to it. So I've got all that going on as well. So again, they'll be saved individually. Like I said, you've got the option to download them if need be. You can save them onto a local drive, email them out, whatever it is you need to do for whatever reason. So again, it's just an introduction to some of the things you can do. If I want to make a call, so again, if depending on how I've got it set up, if I've got it set up for external calls or my PBX is integrated or whatever it is, for the purpose of this, I don't. But all I would do is type in Chloe's name, press enter, and it gives me the options down here to voice call or video call her. So just some really it's just a quick access way of doing things. But talking about quick access, because that seems to be Teams' ultimate sort of objective, is to make everything really easy for us. If I was to go up here and type in Chloe and literally press enter, it will give me the option to type a really quick message to her. So I could be mid-call, I could be doing something else. I just don't want to, I can't find her, whatever it is. And I press hello, it will send my message. And then again, if I press enter, it will take me to the chat and my message is down here. So there's lots of little quick things I can do. If I was to press at, and down here, I can praise somebody. I can, again, Trello, we were talking about collaborate and get more done. forms. I can create a form with somebody, all sorts of things, but it gives me some quick ways of doing things. So that's just introducing you to @ I could mention somebody by this way. I could even, if I went @ YouTube, again, it would, let's try it. So if I was to go @ YouTube, hit enter, I don't know if you can see it, but it's giving me the option to now integrate YouTube into Teams. And if I do that, if I had it integrated and was to go onto YouTube and do @ YouTube, press enter and type in, I don't know, anything, like laughing cats or whatever it happens to be, what it would do is take me straight into YouTube within Teams and bring up my search results. So again, it's a quick way of doing things. If I want to do a command, I'd hit /, and these are commands. So I could change my status by doing this. I could look at all my mentions. I can do all sorts of see someone's org chart. So again, there's lots of little things I could do. So if I say I was go /org, I could search for the person. So I'm going to do Chloe. And what it's going to do is search for Chloe's place within the business. So again, that's just something you can do. So there's loads of little things you can do, loads of little features. But again, it's just Teams trying to open up the world to you, so to speak. But one thing I wanted to do really quickly, because I don't think I got a chance to do it right at the beginning, if I stop sharing this screen, because I wanted to go through some of the, let me come out of this, and I don't want to sort of end the call without doing it. I'm going to share you guys for a moment. So I'm hoping you can see all yourselves. We've got some people on video. So again, I think we've got Gary. Gary gives us a wave. Gary's giving us a wave, guys. See, so you can see down here. Oh, people are putting their videos on. Michael's got his video. I think Anthony's sort of got his video on. I can see that people are muted. But I'm going to bring you over to my laptop because I've got a couple of monitors set up. But over here, you can see as a presenter my view. I can see the recording started. I can see down the bottom everyone's initials. So when people start interacting with me, talking to me, the videos will change. So it will prioritize people that are interacting. But over here, these are some of the issues. There's some of the icons we were talking about right at the beginning. But I wanted to go through really quickly these two options. So apply background effects and turn on live captions. So background effects, I think we're all quite familiar. It feels like it was a long time ago now, but I think it still resonates with a lot of people. There was a BBC interview taking place. It was quite a high profile interview. And in the background, the guy's children walked in. I think it was the nanny that walked in. There's like pandemonium going on in the background. But anyway, you can see I'm currently in my living room. It's quite a safe environment. Nothing's really going on in the background. But for whatever reason, if I've got kids around, my dog's around, there's things going on, I can then start playing around with my background effects. You can upload your own one. So you can see here, add new. So that could be your company logo if you wanted the professional element to it all. Or I can just make it look like I'm somewhere I'm not. I think you can do the beach. I'm going to do the office for the sake of this. And again, hopefully it will load. It might take a moment if I go on to apply. There we go. Suddenly I'm not in my living room. So the kids can come in, the nanny can come in, all sorts of things can happen, but I'm okay, so to speak, kind of, unless my face sort of starts making funny faces. So I've got all that going on. The other thing I want to, for those of you, again, unless you're sort of big global corporate, you might not have to be, but turn on live captions. So if I'm having this call now and I'm having a meeting and we're all talking and chatting away, what Teams has got is the ability to, they've got the capacity or the capability to do 50 different languages, but it will automatically transcript a meeting into up to 6, I think it is at the moment. So I could have literally 6 different countries call in, all speaking different languages, but everyone that is viewing the transcripts or the captions will see it in their native language. So I will have things translated to English if someone's talking in Japanese or German. I'll have that going on. When I speak in English, the people in Japan will have it translated into Japanese so they can see what I'm talking about. So again, it's just like I said, the art of the possible. You might look at this and think 80% of what I've talked about today isn't applicable, but it's there if you ever, for whatever reason, need it. So that was just something I wanted to sort of talk to you about. I'm not quite sure if I was to click on, oh, look, together mode. So these are some of us that have got our cameras on. So again, it's these sorts of things. Again, you might think this is a load of rubbish and the cheesiest thing I've ever seen in my life, but it's bringing in that familiarization to the workplace. We're all used to sitting in a meeting room together, seeing each other. Emma's patting Michael on the head. So again, it's just that, like, some of us might miss sitting in a meeting room with each other. If we are, we can do this. So again, there's some things you can play around with. They might be completely not applicable or even appropriate for your business. But if they are, it's just giving you some things to play around with and add that little bit of humour sometimes when we need it. But I think pretty much that is everything I wanted to cover. I covered off loads of things. Some things, like I said, might be great for you and you've learnt loads, but there are just a few things there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment so you can see me again, I think, maybe. But yeah, it just gives you some of the options to play around with, get more familiar with. I am going to go, if I share my screen, I'm going to go back to the chat and we're going to have a look at any of the questions that we might have had. So again, let's have a little thing. So yep, let's have a, so if anyone wants to use this chance now to type a question, please do. If you haven't got the icon and you want to sort of raise your hand or you want to unmute your microphone and say anything, you can. But yes, there's lots of things here. There's some of the things we've covered. I think Chloe, Michael, Emma have done a great job at answering some questions. There's lots of things. Jimmy, yep, so it's been recorded. Emma's mentioned that. Let's have a look. I understand that Microsoft approves hardware screens for use. Yep, so I think there's even some, yeah, and like I said, Chloe's answered it there. There's I think even we've gone as far as exploring the option to provide some of the hardware that is Teams approved, so to speak. We even had oh, it's a Surface a hub. Am I right in saying it's a Surface hub? It was a huge screen that we had in the office for ages. It's got a built-in camera, all sorts of things, and it's one of these pieces of equipment you're meant to have in your meeting room. It makes because we've even, you can have equipment that is sent to you that will make a meeting room like completely and utterly Teams enabled. I think it's the right, yeah, it's Teams enabled. So you can have microphones, you can have webcams, you can have the Surface Hub Pro thing, you can have all sorts of things, and you can dial people in, you can collaborate together across office spaces, across locations, all countries, everything. So there are loads of things you can provide, but again, speak to your account managers. Michael Gore, we tend to say, is our sort of expert in a lot of this. He might hate me for saying that. But again, and even Chloe's made a really great point there. People that have got hearing difficulties, live captions is brilliant for all of that. So that, again, it's trying to be inclusive as well as give everyone the option to collaborate together. So I'm not going to carry on talking for much longer because I have done now constantly for the last 57 minutes. But again, that was a really whistle-stop tour of Teams. For those of you that use it day in, day out, I might have introduced you to a few new things you can start playing around with. For those of you that have only started using it and quite limited, again, there's might be things that you can now start exploring in a little bit more detail. But apart from that, I am going to sort of draw this to an end. You can, like I said, ask some questions. I don't mind staying around for the next couple of minutes in case people want to start leaving or anyone wants to ask something when the audience is a bit smaller. But whatever it is, you've got your account managers. Make sure they're your first port of call. If there's anything, I mean, always sort of direct a message or a query at your account manager. But if you want to CC me in, the best one to use is learning@cobweb.com. I'll let your account manager take sort of primary ownership, but if I'm always can be included if need be. So that's it really for today, guys. And like I said, carry on asking questions. Got your account managers on the call at the moment, but anything else that you want to sort of explore any further, live events, if you want SharePoint, whatever it is, sort of come to us and ask the questions and inquire. And I'm sure we'll do our best to look after you guys.